Thanks everybody for coming to the meeting. I know we got done shooting a little late, so the schedule is not quite what it was expected to be. But so a few of us up here are still eating. But appreciate you coming out, and thank you for your support. And I see some ROs here. Thank you guys for working all day and then still coming here. So I do appreciate that. So. With that, I don't have any special announcements, but I would like to go across the whole room, starting on that end. If everybody would quick introduce themselves, I would appreciate it.
My name is Bruce Wells. I'm the Area 6 Director for USPSA.
My name is Bruce Gary. I'm the Area 1 Director.
I'm Rick Steele. I'm the Area 5 Director.
Jake Martins, Director of Media and Events.
Sherwin Greenfield, your president.
Lee Cabana, Vice President and Area 7 Director.
Troy McManus, Director of NROI.
Rick Brotzel, Director of IT.
With that, we did get the minutes of our last meeting posted, so those are open for discussion. And with posting those, we also posted our budget as approved in that meeting. You have a short summary of that budget laying in front of you. And with that, I will open it to questions. I ask that we've got a microphone on the floor here, so I ask that anybody's talking could please come up to the podium so we can hopefully pick it up and record it. The cell service here no longer allows us to live stream it. We just don't have enough bandwidth to do that anymore because of some changes they made. So it will be recorded and posted. So, with that, we're open to any questions from the floor.
Someone's going to break the ice. Come on.
All right, good talk.
I could say L10 and that would stir some questions, right? Always does.
Everybody enjoy the match so far?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a plus. I like that.
Okay, for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Pat Brown, and I'm from Area 3, all right? Most of these gentlemen are well aware of who I am, so they're...
May I make a quick Area 3 note before you start? Area 3 is currently vacant. There's a committee formed, and we kind of hope to have a name at our next meeting on the 31st. So the committee is looking at people for that position with a little bit of assistance and a little bit of luck. Timing could be that we could have somebody in place first part of the month.
Well, that's perfect timing. Perfect introduction. One of the things I want to talk about tonight is Mr. Steele, Mr. Cabana. I want to officially put myself up for interim Area 3 Director.
In order to do that, for the committee stuff, how are you guys going to do petitions?
It's not a
Or you don't have
petition,
to
it's
do
an
a petition?
You don't have to do a
No,
petition.
no.
It just, the name has to be submitted to the committee.
I'm simply submitting my name.
Consider it submitted.
Yep, very well. Okay. Please don't take this any way other than constructive. The minutes, I'd just like to give you some suggestions on two different minutes. The most recent ones I'll deal with first because they're up on the screen.
Why?
You
Pat,
guys
you're
bear
going
with me.
to need to speak up.
Okay,
I
yeah.
can't hear you over there.
Okay. Into the minutes you just released tonight, underneath the 7:08 PM heading, the reference to the audit report, the very first sentence, it says, auditor was unable to make the meeting tonight due to scheduling issues. The use of that term in this situation is incorrect. Okay? There is a huge difference between an audit and a review, okay? The proper terminology, if you're trying to be proper about it, would be either to refer to them as your independent accountants or by their name. Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Okay? It's a technicality, but it's a huge, huge technicality. To an informed user, that is a huge difference. Okay?
Yeah.
It's an incredible difference. The next sentence, again, I'm being a stickler here, just for your information though. USPSA has engaged a new firm to perform audits. You've engaged a new firm to perform audits and reviews.
Both, yes. That's correct. We have a 3-year rotation, 2-year review, 3rd-year audit.
Again, I'm not being critical, I'm just trying to state that there is a huge difference.
If I'm correct, next year will be a full audit.
It's the audit.
That is correct. Now, this statement here, is a little more than critical, okay? This is actually factually incorrect, okay? You're implying that the auditor or the independent accountants stated that their report is clean. There is no such thing as a clean report. And I'll give you an example in a minute. And the organization is financially sound. That is false. Auditors, even at the audit level, do not state that an organization is financially sound. They may state that there is a going concern, but they do not state anything about the soundness. That's up to the user to decide. Okay?
Okay. Do we have the actual audit report?
I have,
It says review, yes.
Okay.
I have one from last year, which is terminology is exactly the same.
So let me, those comments were not part of the official comments of the
Correct.
review. Those were my conversation with, going through it,
Correct.
yes.
And that conversation is what's called the expectation gap.
Yeah.
The expectation gap is the difference between what an informed user of financial statements knows it says and what the perception of the general public thinks it says. That's the difference. It's called the expectation gap. The audit firm confirmed the investment account is being accounted for properly. They confirmed that in each of the previous audits and reviews. They stated that the financial statements are presented according to generally accepted accounting principles.
Yeah, that was actually an intentful question largely from me. I'm not an accountant, right, and I didn't sleep in a Holiday Inn Express. But I was astonished to find that the investment gains or losses are showed on the income and expense sheet. I would have thought income and expense included cash in and cash out, and that the
Accrual-based accounting.
Yeah, so that was why we asked for clarification.
Yes, but what I'm saying is there's never been an issue. The financial statements have always been fairly presented in accordance with GAAP. So it was never a question to anybody that's using the documents. And again, any reference to your accounting firm should be accounting firm, independent accountants, or by name, rather than audit firm, because there's a difference in the connotation of the term. And I'll use Sherwin as an example because he won't consider this an insult or anything. It's the difference between me saying, "Hey, old man," and Sherwin.
I resemble that remark.
Cold words. So, and I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. I'm just trying to give you an example, a common sense example.
No, I understand.
So, Now, to just so you guys can, here's the important part of the accountant's report. It's one paragraph, and it says, accountant's conclusion. Let me get this one. Based on our review, we are not aware of any material modification that should be made to the accompanying financial statements in order for them to be in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. That's all it says.
Say that again, please.
The accountant's conclusion states, based on our review, we are not aware of any material modifications that should be made to the accompanying financial statements in order for them to be in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. And that's all it says. Does not imply the organization's financials are good or bad. It simply says they're in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And that's an important distinction. Auditors, independent accountants don't like that confusion because they end up in court. So, that being said, I hope you'll take it just as a lesson, because the average person out there doesn't, I can guarantee you, doesn't understand that.
No, they don't understand the difference.
And the only reason I do, because I've been doing it for the last 30 years, I'm classically trained.
Separate from the language, are there things that we should be doing different with our financials or our reporting?
Based on what the auditors have to say, and that's all I can say. Oh, professionally give you an opinion? No, they say everything's fine. Personally, yes.
Like?
I don't think this is really the time or place, but one, you guys have addressed. I noticed a comment somewhere in there. I've been complaining about this, the timeliness of the financial statements. There is absolutely no reason that the financial statements aren't prepared and in your hands for your review by the 15th of the following month.
100%.
Is that an example you're looking for?
I'm open to other things. I'm
That's-
happy to give you a call and pick your brain. This is not an
You
area.
have my
where
phone
I've got-
number.
Yeah.
I said I'd like to be considered. I hope you consider what I'm saying here. I will say one thing. This most recent minutes, other than the corrections that I'm trying to point out, is the most revealing I've read in quite a while. I applaud you for that. There are comments on there. I don't know if I had any influence in it, but they are things that I brought to your attention, and you're at least acknowledging that you concluded
They're up for discussion.
they're being discussed. I think that's a bold step forward. At the last meeting in October, one of the biggest issues was the perception of the membership that they're not being properly informed. I think you've taken the right step forward. I think there's still a lot to go, but I think you're taking the right step forward. The last thing I want to say, and I had this conversation with Sherwin today. I personally am sick and tired of hearing board members discuss history, especially bad history. I don't care what happened in 2015. I don't care what happened from 2016 to 2021. It can't be undone. It's time to start making. If you haven't learned from it by now, you're not going to.
There's a lot of
6
things.
years, 6 years,
I disagree with that statement.
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
that's fine. 6 years is too long to be dragging up dirt. And I'm also tired of people talking about people that are no longer around to represent themselves. It's not fair to them, it's not fair to the
What
organization.
example do you have of that?
Yeah,
That
I mean, I've been
what example do you
lost.
have of that, of board members that are talking about people that are no longer around that can not defend themselves?
When I have conversations, it comes up.
Specific.
No, I won't go into specifics. There's people present who know what I'm talking about. I'll allow them to speak confidentially. They spoke confidentially to me.
That's not fair to us.
Then,
I'm gonna tell you right now, that's,
Bruce, I will tell you something right now. There's a member of the board present that will discuss this with you.
well, I'd like to hear it.
Then he will discuss it.
I'm just at a loss. I'm sorry.
Well, he'll clarify it. It's a private conversation. I'm going to respect that.
But you just brought it up.
It's a private
You made
You
it
just
conversation.
brought it up as a complaint,
No, I brought it up as a personal opinion, sir.
as a complaint to the
As a
board here.
personal opinion.
But it was a complaint directed
It
to
was
the board
a
that was here.
personal opinion.
Okay, then it's been given.
Okay.
If you don't want to back it up, then you don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't.
No, it's good. It's good.
Is there anything else that you'd
Really
like
want to
to
go
add?
there?
Is there anything else that you'd like to add? You have the floor.
Yeah, like an apology.
For what?
I'm trying to make something out of nothing.
I'm not trying to make something out of nothing. You said that you had a complaint towards the board that you're saying now is a personal opinion.
What was my complaint?
That
State-
you were
state
sick and
what I
tired of
said.
talking, that you're sick and tired of them talking about people that can't
That's my
defend themselves.
opinion.
That I misunderstood it as a complaint to the board.
Exactly.
I apologize that I misunderstood your complaint to the board as your
I
opinion.
didn't make a complaint.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah,
Okay, you have the floor. There are other people here. If you have any other questions for the board,
I am
let's have
tired
them.
of the excuses that I hear based on going back in past history.
You already stated that. Is there anything else that you would like to add or have a question?
Sherwin, you're the president of this organization. You're the president of the board. You run the board meeting. He's an executive. I don't have to answer.
This is a members meeting. There are other members that are here. You're not asking questions. You're giving opinions now.
Are you
This
the
is an
president
open
or not?
conversation.
We need to calm down. Just back up. Yes, you have the floor yet. Jake said he apologized for misunderstanding.
We didn't apologize for him.
I apologize, I misunderstand it. If you have other questions or you'd like to address the board, there are other people
You're
that are
not the
here.
president. You don't run this meeting, sir.
It's a membership meeting. I'm a member of the organization. I may have a question for the board and I may want the floor. There are other people that may want the
Everybody
floor.
can respond, everybody on the board has the ability to respond to anybody's question.
Sherwin, I'm going to direct this directly to you. We had a conversation today. What just transpired is a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
I trying to remember.
I'm here
Yeah.
to try to help. If people have a preconceived notion or too thin-skinned to accept it, then maybe you should resign and leave. Because it's not your place or your job.
It's
You
all
are the
about,
director of marketing.
yes.
Stay within your job description. You're not the president of the USPSA.
You're correct, I'm not.
Thank you.
But I can give him the floor. Anybody, I mean, the way we wanted to run this meeting is that it's open for everybody. Any question that comes up, anybody up here can answer it.
With
So,
integrity.
well, that's why I'm trying to back it down and calm it down. So Jake apologized for the way he took your comment. I understand where you're saying that we, and I'll say collectively as a board, can sometimes take offense in personal things that are meant
Yes,
to be helpful.
yes.
And I understand that, and I completely acknowledge it for myself and for the board.
Here's the point, clear and simple. Talking about the past publicly or in private conversations, members, does no good. It's detrimental to the brand. It's detrimental to the marketing. It's detrimental to the organization as a whole. Nobody wants to hear about the past CEO, the past managing director or executive director. They don't want to hear it anymore. They want to see new results. And that's all they want to see. All they want to hear is what are you going to do today and tomorrow and a year from today.
And that's what we're going to try to do. I have to disagree with you a little bit.
Fine.
Because of the amount of stuff that shows up on the internet is all discussions of the past. And sometimes because that discussion's out there, we react to what that discussion is on the internet.
My statement stands. I'm tired of hearing it. I don't care who's speaking.
Okay. Point taken.
Great.
Point taken.
Do you have anything that you'd like to direct to the board about the future that we can move past the things in the past?
I did. I think you're moving in the right direction.
Thank you,
I think a
Patrick.
perfect example is the minutes you released tonight and some of the comments that you're discussing and so forth. One last question. I have a question from somebody else. They want to know what the 1,500 junior camp in the budget is.
Say again, I missed
The
that.
$1,500
The
$1,500 in the junior camp is what is awarded to the juniors that apply to the Mike Boyd Education Foundation. Junior camp / programs.
Is that the scholarship?
It's not a scholarship, it's an educational program, the Mike Boyd Education Program.
Okay.
Can't call it a scholarship.
Is that a restricted?
No, there's people that applied for it that.
No,
would-
are the financial terms of restricted to juniors?
It's a restricted
Yes.
fund, yes.
It's a restricted fund?
It's a restricted fund that was set up with
So-
approval from Maggie Reese.
Okay, it should be identified separate item in revenues and expenses. Because it's restricted. It's not part of the general fund. Oh, by the way, is this budget cash basis or accrual basis?
I would say it's cash, but I can't really answer that.
Well, there's accrual because when we do our life memberships, for example,
It's accrual.
we have to accrue, we don't show that full life membership income as income that year. You have to set that aside, and we accrue we recognize the income over a period of years.
Good. Lee, real quick, I'm going to give you a real quick just example. You tell me how you came up, just in general, how you came up with the number. You identify memberships, your budget is $1.2 million. Okay, the smaller figures don't matter. What'd you base that off of? How'd you come?
A little bit off of historical monthly new members and historical annual renewals. Just basically history off of.
I mean, did you take 5% of last year, or did you?
No, so the way that it works
Wasn't it
is
seven?
that, so 3 and 5 years are accrued. Life are accrued into that year.
I understand.
And then the new membership that comes in with a projection of.
That's what I'm asking.
It's a projection of renewals with a 30% reduction.
What's the projection percentage?
I
What do you mean
think-
by a projection with a 30%?
You see about a 30% turnover of membership every year. So you take
That
the
don't
average
renew.
of the new membership that's coming in, the amount of people who can renew within that 12-month period of time minus 30% and project it against that.
Right, thank you.
Might not have anything to do with marketing though.
Anybody have any additional questions,
Or comments.
comments? On any subject?
Production
open.
15, you know?
No, not production 15, please.
Don't go there, Lee.
Thank you.
PCC irons.
All right.
Still challenging.
Still down.
I mean, we don't want to end this if people have other comments or questions or anything. I mean,
Yeah.
we're here.
Okay.
So,
We're here for any questions.
This, you know, solve
Please,
internet
please come
file
up to the
later.
podium
Well,
though.
this is, I just wanted to.
Come on, Drew,
Come
don't
on,
be
Drew.
shy.
Get up there, Drew.
Yeah. We want to make sure you're heard.
It's more of a
Hey,
comment.
Drew, how many of those stages did you design? All the ones people don't like?
Where's the microphone?
Well, it's down here,
Oh,
but
okay. So I thought it was over here. I just wanted to offer the board a compliment. It kind of makes me happy seeing so many board members at the match, working the match. Lee's next door to me, Bruce is here, and I think it speaks well to the organization that you guys are here.
Rick's working up.
Yeah, and Rick's,
You got Bruce Six, too.
yeah, so we got several board members working it. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Drew.
additional comments? I don't want to cut anybody off. And I know you guys stuck around to be here, and I appreciate that.
I have a
Do you need
question,
Marcia?
out of curiosity.
Yes.
I know this is a small crowd, but we're getting a variety of emails asking for a new division for limited optics. And I don't know that there's a market for that, and I don't know if there's any more market for that than there is for limited 10. Anybody here think one way or the other on either adding a ninth division or replacing Lim 10 with Lim Optics?
You already have an open division of the carry-out division, why do you need another one?
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
So the
No,
basis,
that's why we're asking.
the basis of where it's coming from is that 2011 single action style guns are not allowed in carry optics. And there's a growing number of those guns that are available in the marketplace, not just from custom builders, but that's where it's really coming from, is that that gun is not an open gun because it shoots 9 minor, doesn't have a compensator, and it's not a limited gun because it has an optic on it. So there is a push that's coming from members about it. We've had this question brought up about adding single axis to carry optics. 2018, or at least 2019, 2020, and 21. You guys have
And in
talked
my
about it.
opinion, that's a hard no. We try very hard to do two things in divisions. We try to make sure that there's a distinction between the equipment so that there's a competitive challenge to each division. And we try really hard not to write rules that make currently legal equipment obsolete. In my opinion anyway, is that if we were to put single action guns, 2011s, and carry optics, it would make all the striker fired guns obsolete overnight.
And it's our most popular division right now, so
Yeah.
why would we want to change it?
Right.
I agree with Bruce. I think.
That's got it. That's got it.
You're not getting away with it either.
We can probably hear. Well, no.
Come on, old man, get up.
It's kind of directed over that way. We, that's the spot we tried to pick us up and somebody else.
I agree with Bruce. I don't think that opening up carry optics to single action 2011 guns is a good idea. I think that would just create more screaming and yelling that you should get rid of this division, nobody shoots that division anymore. All that hassle that we see members and on social media where people go, oh, I don't know why they have single stack, nobody shoots that. Well, you weren't here, okay, because there's a hell of a lot of single stack shooters here this weekend. I think that would be detrimental to, again, like Bruce says, is your guns are, why have this gun? Because this gun outshoots it. So I think that there's 8 divisions. I don't see where we need to keep increasing divisions. I just don't see that. It's going to cause problems. Personally, I think the big push with 2011s, or the 1911 with a dot on it is gun manufacturers. A couple, 3 of those.
Gun manufacturers, optics manufacturers, and ammo manufacturers.
And older limited shooters that are having a hard time.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I've had conversations with many of the large custom builders, all of the optics manufacturers, and the ammo manufacturers have seen a huge decrease in 40. A lot of the custom builders have seen a huge decrease in built custom 40 caliber guns. So, I mean, yeah, they're looking for a market to put guns that they're building. I mean, I had a conversation with a manufacturer that was really, really big and you know, kind of boasted that there's 5,000 law enforcement officers that are carrying their guns that will come and shoot the sport. He said, well, they didn't shoot it when they had Glocks and SIGs and Walthers. Why do you think they're going to come and shoot it now? That's a horrible argument. The other horrible argument that I think people miss is does creating a new division like that create new members, or does it dilute the competition? That's the real question to me, is that if all you're going to do is have people that are shooting carry optics now, or people that are shooting open now, just go into this division, and it doesn't create new membership, then it's meaningless, right?
And it does just dilute things.
So we know that carry optics, we know that PCC created new members. I mean,
Well,
we can go back and look at the numbers and show that.
We happily rode a wave on carry optics because all the manufacturers, I mean, Glock had the MOS and SIG made optic ray guns, and so that made a lot of sense because the market was going that direction. I don't see a market being created for single action.
No, I think what you do is that you would, my personal opinion on it is I think that you would see limited continue to decrease, and open would now decrease, and you would just see people that would generally jump to open, just jump to a 24-round single action gun, and you would have more dilution of the divisions.
So I wanted to ask Jake, because you just said, you know, you saw that carry optics drove growth to the sport. I'm just curious how you or the board, whoever arrived at that conclusion, got that. I'm just curious where that data came from.
So you're actually able, Rick's got some pretty cool reports. You're actually able to see when new members come in. You can go back and track and see which divisions are shooting. You can go back and see.
So you were able to see a wave of new members all shooting mostly carry optics then?
Yeah, most new members that are coming in are going into carry optics.
Okay.
Because if you look at most new guns that are being sold are optics ready guns. And the manufacturers that are out there, there are people that we deal with, CHPWS, and other ones that are like they cannot keep up with the demand of plates. There's individuals that can't keep up with milling old guns to add optics to it. I mean, if you look at what the AR platform did in the military and law enforcement when it went from iron sights to optics, that is exactly what you're seeing in the handgun side. There's not talking to, on the marketing side of things, talking to all the companies that are out there, they continue to see a huge increase of demand for optics ready guns or guns that are sold with optics already on them.
Yeah, just as a single data point anecdote, I visited a club a couple weeks ago that I hadn't shot at for about 2 years. And literally everybody I saw at that club that I didn't know was shooting carry optics.
Oh, wow.
The other thing that people that are shooting carry optics are gravitating towards is that's where the competition is at.
Yes, that is
So
absolutely true.
if you added something else that was optics driven, you're going to just dilute that competition.
I will say Area 6 this year, out of 440 competitors, I think we had 157 that competed in carry optics. That was our largest division.
It is the largest division at my match this year at Alabama Sectional.
Yeah. I think you just don't touch it.
Yeah.
I worked as a range master for the road runner match in March, and the biggest division there was carry optics.
Are there any other equipment rule changes that have been considered? Because it kind of feels like we've had a lot of changes these past few years.
Yeah,
We've got a very laid out procedure for that now.
Yes, which I like.
And,
We made it very difficult to do anything that wasn't going to be in front of the membership. I presented something to the board, and then Ted Murphy took what I put out there. So there's some hard and fast things that have to be in place before we make we bring some. What happened in the past is that a presentation, something was brought up, and it was then an agenda item that went to a vote.
Yeah.
And it was either voted up or voted down, and that's kind of how 16.2 bylaw worked. Which, good or bad, I mean, some of those changes were very, very good. I mean, there was some modularity in carry optics and in production guns that you just could not keep up with with the structure that we had before.
Well, and we laid a philosophical trap for ourselves too. The rules have been in place that competition equipment rules couldn't be changed more than once every 2 years. But then we said, oh, but that's to keep from making equipment obsolete. If the rule change is more permissive and invites more guns into the division, then that's okay.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon, everything got couched as a permissive change.
Yeah, everything was inclusive.
But to answer your question, as far as rules for that, there's nothing in front of the Rules Committee governing any new division changes or anything.
The last conversation we had on the Rules Committee was about power factor.
And that was a hard no.
That was a hard no. Paul,
You and I had a conversation at Missouri.
Pat, you
about
got,
SAO.
they won't be able to hear you, Patrick.
Could you step up?
I'll wait, please.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, my name is Paul Francis. This conversation, I've been a match director on and off over years and stuff, and I don't think 2011 should be in carry optics. But if they all realize it would be minor scoring, and maybe give them like single stack and revolver, if you shoot a 2011, it's 15 rounds instead of 140 mags. There's things you can do. I have, believe it or not, at our local matches, I've heard a lot of people ask about 2011s and carry optics. And there is people out there that want to do that. I don't think it needs to be done. That's what I say. I'm not for it. But there is people out there inquiring about it at our local matches. And
But we don't believe they're new people. We believe those are people that are already shooting carry optics
right.
and just want to shoot the same thing they're shooting with a different gun.
Well, I've heard guys shooting open guns say, hey, I get another barrel fitted in my open gun and I can shoot this and carry optics.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of things going on.
There's a lot of talking to manufacturers and people about this. A lot of that stems from open division is very specialized. It's very expensive and it requires reloading.
Yeah.
A 2011 with a slide mounted optic shooting 9mm minor ammo is less cost prohibitive for
Right.
people to get into.
Yeah.
But that's why production or carry optics has been so successful. I mean, there's things that you can distinguish it by different things, but the question becomes, does it dilute the competition that's there now versus bringing new people?
Well, I'm a revolver shooter. That's all I pretty much shoot. I do have a carry optics gun. So my competition
I've seen you
is
shoot other
dilution.
stuff.
So, that's why everybody's dead set against overall standings. And it's like, I'm a big fan of it because I'm the only revolver guy at most matches. And I know the guys that shoot B class or maybe A class in production. Those are the guys I have to compete against. And I make it work because that's what I like to do. But carry optics can be not the right term, maybe a catch-all. I don't know how many people, as a revolver shooter, shooting, I shot the IRC last year, the International Revolver Championship, and I tried to go to some of them matches, and a bunch of guys would like to shoot a revolver with an optic on it and carry optics. They said, we're screwed anyway, we only got 8 rounds. But why can't we shoot? I said, I don't. So there's a thing with getting the optics on there, single stack. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying the people I've talked to, it's like, boy, I'd keep shooting, or if I could get a optic on my single stack. So without dilute, you can still fold a lot of this stuff into a division. But I am also, like I say, I hated the rule change in revolver, even though now that I'm older, it's a little more interesting to not have to shut moon clips everywhere with 8 shots instead of 6. But it could be a place for single stack, and a lot of guys that put optics on their guns, a place to come and play. But
One of the conversations that just as you had, and probably I think that's where you're going to go with the single action, is categories.
The possibility of a different division
right.
that gun fits in,
Yeah.
And having a category within that division to recognize that and see if we can have some numbers to support that.
Yeah.
It'd be something, because it's a category, we don't regulate the category, so, that could be done without a rule change. So it'd be a way to find out if the numbers are there.
The tricky thing is every time we've ever added a division, we've never taken it away.
Right.
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 Well,
Because, what happens is even under provisional, you start looking at 16.2 as far as we don't want to obsolete equipment. Well, if you make a provisional division, you're not going to get real numbers and you're going to,
As
it's
a
a catch
revolver guy, I'm
22.
sweating that out all the time. I know it's like everybody said a revolver needs to die, but, unlimited 10, that's another, those are the ones that everybody says need to go away.
But there's still people shooting them, so
That's all.
it's not
If revolver
completely
went
dead.
away, I would still be at the match, shooting my revolver,
In production division. probably.
limited. Don't make no difference. I'm still shooting against the same guys I always shoot against. But me and Jake's talked about this a couple times, or it's been a while. We have a lot of new shooters come to the matches and everybody stuffs them in limited, which is why limited was such a big division. I mean, we'll have a brand new shooter, 2 or 3, 4 or 5 of them. I only brought 3 mags, so we stuff them in limited.
Yeah.
And
It happens
they
a
go
lot
out
of
there and
places.
they go, whoa, and that's the last time we ever seen them.
Right.
And we talked about turnovers and stuff and retaining people. Yeah,
Right. I mean, the conversation that Paul and I had around that is that, and we've all seen it, right? New guy shows up, he's got 3 mags, he's got a Glock 17. He goes out there and just load him up, don't worry about it, it'll be easier for you. And then the whole time, we're like, well, if you really want to get in this sport, you're going to have to spend $3,500 to start reloading.
Yep.
And that guy goes home and tells his wife that the $700 gun he just bought is worthless in this sport, and he doesn't come back, right? We're, if there was young in here, we'd eat them. So we don't do a great job of that part of it. We don't do a great job of educating people on what to expect. And Jason Spradley and I from Federal just spent all Friday morning doing a deep dive video series that we're going to start on the education of the divisions, what it takes, and then how to find a match, how to get to a match, when you get to a match, what to do. Because the other thing that when we've seen this large growth, 6,000, 7,000 new members every year, they come out and they don't understand the volunteer basis of what this organization is. They don't want to paste. They don't want to learn how to be an RO. They don't want to help set up. They want to come and pay their $25 intramural sport fee to rent your bay and go home because they don't know that history of what's out there. So sometimes we do have to touch back and explain to them with the expectation. We've done a poor job of helping clubs with that as well. And the boards have heard me say this in January on the goals to kind of roll out this year. We have support from Federal that is actually, we're videotaping it and they're sending it to a professional cinematographer to edit it. We have, Troy, I think you're doing videos with Shooting USA. That's part of our agreement that we have with them on the Certified Match Ammo program this weekend, plus 4 other videos this year. We have 8 or 9 other videos that literally talk about how to use overlays and what the 180 is. And there's information that's out there. It's sent in the Downrange newsletter every week on there. It's the least clicked on thing. So we have the stuff. We're working on putting a whole new member experience guide that is basically going to be a PDF walkthrough as we add these videos in there to educate a new person about what USPSA is, what the divisions are, and how to get started. So it's coming, and I hope that alleviates some of the confusion of when somebody shows up.
And the intimidation factor of that first guy showing up at a match.
Yeah,
But
that's
to
all
go
we're
with that too, Drew, to answer your question about what some of those rule changes were. So if a guy shows up with his carry gun, which is a Glock 17 and an optic on top of it, but he was carrying it from appendix, what division did he shoot in then?
Previously, you would have shot an open.
He would have shot an open, right? So, but if his holster with that same gun was no longer an appendix and was back here on his hip, he could shot carry optics. But he showed up to the practical shooting match with the practical gun that he owned to get practical, shooting going on. And because we arbitrarily said from here to here, so we fixed that part of it.
Yeah, that I agree with.
Right. The one that everybody sticks on is flashlights.
Well, and just something you were saying earlier, one of the things, I'll speak for Lake Area 2 Director for a moment, he's passionate about this. We've got to do a better job of educating our clubs about how to succeed. There are distribution network, if you will. And I know across the 63 clubs in Area 1 and 13 sections, there are myriad best practices that people have come up with their own. And we try to share them across Area 1, but gosh, if we could do that nationwide and teach a club how to have that conversation with the guy that shows up with his carry optic gun and an appendix holster, and teach him about what division he should be in, and that he should run what he brung for a while until he gets comfortable with the game and learn what he likes and doesn't like, or she, as the case may be. That's, I think, a critical role that we've got to fill, is making sure that we're feeding the pipe to our clubs about what we've learned nationwide. And we're frankly not doing it right now.
One problem I've run into with my local match is just retaining shooters. Because my last match that we ran, we had 24 shooters. And the match before that was probably 27. And I mean, I'm curious if that bears out in the rest of the country, or if my area is just a black hole.
Yeah, I'll let Jake speak to the numbers in a minute, but, and I'll speak to history for a moment, sorry, Patrick. But I did this analysis, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, and at the time, we were losing, on average, 30% of our members a year. The odds that a person who joined 5 years ago was still a member today were less than 40%. That could be any of a number of things. It could be they tried us out and decided we weren't for them. It could be they tried us out and realized all they want to do is shoot club matches, so they don't have to be able to do that. It could be a whole variety of other. They could have had a crappy experience at the club. Who knows what. But somehow we've got to solve that problem, because in an average year, we might get 5,000 new members, but we're only going to have 3,500 of them next year. And we don't have a strategy for addressing that.
See, I joined not even, basically about 5 years ago. And I've seen a lot of people come and go. So, I mean, I'm taking over as match director for my club. So I'm really trying to figure out how to keep my matches going, because I enjoy the matches, I enjoy the people I shoot with, but I'm sure everybody in here knows what it's like to build a match and have hardly anybody show up, and then you got to tear it down.
The other thing that we very strongly see is we lose match people.
Yes.
Right? The average club in Area 1, I'll speak for Area 1, is populated with alpha personalities. And there will be 3 or 4 or 5 people who are absolutely convinced they know how to do things, and the only right way to do things, and they won't let everybody else help, and that works great until they burn out and there's nobody left to fill in. And very, very few of them understand the concept of building a team and bringing in new leaders, not just shooters, but leaders.
Yeah.
Mm.
You have anything else?
I feel exactly what our club's turnouts are way down too. There's ammo, gas prices, a lot of things going on there. It's perfect storm, as they say. We have new people come and they see these guys blaze through a course of fire, and it's like, you can just see the look on their face. It's the last time.
Yeah, you can read it like, holy crap, I can't do that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always been that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a match director 30 years ago, and it was the same way back then. People would come up, and back then it was just limited and open. You guys shoot single stack.
Well, yeah, we used to, my home section used to do a table at the gun club, at the gun show.
Yeah.
And they found very clearly that if they put up a video of Todd and Robbie, shooting at a nationals, people just walk past. But if they showed a video of people shooting exactly the same stages, wearing, jeans and t-shirts and
Right.
household stuff, people stop and ask questions. I think we're still in that mode.
And
We are 100% in that mode. And I actually can go back and show you videos of, 50,000 views of Paul shooting revolver at a match and 5,000 views of Max Michelle shooting revolver at a match.
Wait, Mike shoots revolver?
No. No, you don't. So the number that you put out 10 years ago is almost the exact same number that we have now. It's almost the exact same thing that you saw. And in my retail history, I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods for a while. Couldn't believe how many people probably have a used set of golf clubs in their garage. They went out once or twice and did the same thing.
Yeah.
This is not uncommon to fishing, hunting, shooting, tennis. You know, people try things out and they find out that they're not as good as they thought they were.
And there's an added dimension to it too, in that fishing or hunting or shooting or canoeing or whatever, right? You buy the equipment, you go out and try it, and you've made the investment in it. We're a step beyond that in that we're a participation sport. We need people to be ROs and tapers and setters, and to some extent, a portion of our population today, at least in my area, feels like going to a match is their entertainment dollar.
Yep.
I'm gonna go, I'm gonna plunk down my $30 fee, I'm gonna be entertained for a while, and somebody else will do the work.
It's the same as renting a basketball.
We've gotta figure that out.
Yeah, that's, I think, the
We run out
education
of somebody
side.
else's after a while.
The education side of what to expect when you come.
Hope we can get that out there.
Yeah, at your local matches, it's all the same guys setting up, and I would guess 75% of them are just like me. It's like we can barely walk sometimes after setting the match up. And it's like, we got the young guys that come out just to shoot. And some of them, don't get me wrong, there's some that you take it, there's people stepping up, but they're few and far between, and that's why a lot of clubs are struggling, so. But that's, I just wanted my comments on the 2011 thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul.
Sherwin, do you remember our conversation about the carry optics 2011 that we had it down there in Missouri?
Probably, because I've had it a few times, and I probably told you the
I thought
same
you
thing.
put it, I thought you put it very well, if you were considering doing something. I think, if I remember correctly, what you told me was a logical approach to it would be to put it as a subcategory of open.
Yeah.
And apply the open rules to it,
Don't have to change rules. It's just
because it doesn't
there.
have to be changed. That seems like a logical approach if you were gonna do it. I'm neither for it or against it. I don't have an opinion.
We
But
need
I
to
just
have
thought that was
something
A
to
logical solution.
base it on, that would give the people that support it a place to, okay, show the numbers.
I think you even referred to it as a preliminary type of
Yeah.
thing. Bruce, no, I didn't take any offense to your history. That's not what I'm talking, or which one? That's not the history I'm talking
I know, I
about.
was being snarky, it's been a long day, sorry.
That's okay. Historical data is valuable. Negative,
Yeah, I think there's,
brand diminishing stuff is what I'm talking about, to clarify it, so you understand my point of view and where I'm coming from. It is very specific, what I'm talking about. History is valuable. There's no doubt about it. I'm not discounting history, never have I? Sherwin? Never discounted history. It's absolutely valuable in what I do. The negativity that surrounds a lot of what is constantly referenced is what I'm talking about. It hurts the brain. It hurts the individuals sitting up here at the table. It hurts your reputation. You might not think so, but it does. I'm just the average guy out there that has a membership. And I'm trying to tell you that that's what people see. They don't want to hear that.
So until I know what it is they're not supposed to hear, I don't see any purpose to this conversation.
Okay.
All right, we just can't say, and that's bad, so.
Okay, I'll give you an example. Referring to the past president as a reason for a past problem is irrelevant at this point. He's been gone for 10 months. The problem existed for 6 years. You can't change that past problem. What you can do is say that problem is gone. We eliminated that problem. And now let's move forward and keep the message positive. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Don't talk about a former executive member and refer to him as the source of a problem.
So I am unaware of any of these conversations, so
Okay.
I cannot voice an opinion.
I'm just saying, I'm making you aware that these things are being said, that blame is being placed on people who are not around anymore.
Can I still talk trash about Danny?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm done. I just wanted to clarify that I have no problem with this.
Thank you.
I'd like to comment on that for just a minute.
Yep.
No,
Go ahead.
I like to,
Fucking Nick.
Dave Thomas was an executive director. And one of the things that Dave Thomas did that really helped me personally, and this is why I disagreed with you earlier. He actually went to different sections and he held some classes for us, and I was privileged enough to go to one of those classes. And what he taught was how to train your replacements, how to build a team. So, and his statement was like this: if you're the president of your club and you get run over by a beer truck, what is going to happen to your club? And that set something in motion for me personally. I have been president of my local club twice, but I told them whenever I took the position, it was for 2 years only. And someone has to step up and take my place at the end of that 2 years, and I was emphatic about it. Both times, someone stepped up, took my place, and I can tell you, a friend of mine just told me the other day, if you don't train your replacements, you'll never move to doing what else you would like to do. And I think it's important that we train our replacements. And that was the history that's why, and I didn't understand what you meant either.
That's the history I'm talking about. That's valuable history.
That is very valuable history.
That is useful information. It's data-driven.
That was one of the most.
I'm sorry. The difference, that's a perfect example of what I'm saying. That's positive.
Yes.
That's a positive restatement of history.
I'm from the Northeast, under Area 7 of Dilute Cabana. And I know some of you others are saying your area are like diminishing or not as many people are training it. We actually have a lot of people training, but we're kind of geographically unique because we have a lot of limited states and where we have our matches that come in. So we're seeing actually a lot of like 60, 70 shooters right now. And it's again, predominantly carry optics. But kind of it's more for Jake, because you mentioned something about like marketing, helping the clubs. It's more of like helping the match directors, because they're the ones that are having the conversations or discussions with their board members to try and get them to approve to continue or even start having matches. So it'd be nice to see something that may already exist, because I haven't really looked. Is some, I don't want to keep it as simple as a checklist, but some like how to be a match director. I mean, we kind of touch it upon it with ROs, a little bit with CRO. It's kind of all there, but some of our areas, we have a few, we don't have very range masters who have probably done a lot that more. I've done some match director stuff, and it's a lot.
So there was a club manual and a match director manual and a section coordinator manual that were in existence that kind of laid out there. I took on the club manual in 2020 and took a 144 or 164 page club manual that had references to your mailing list, like how to create postcards about your that's how outdated it was, and updated onto the website, and it's there. It was released at the end of 2020 or 2021. No, it was 2020. And there are areas in it that the videos that we were creating with Shooting USA are kind of fill in some of those gaps with some of the training that are out there. Part of that has also kind of been updated into the RO training part of it. But there is not a specific how to be a match director manual that's out there. That's kind of close, because it does talk even about how to construct walls, how to spike stuff down, how to do other things. There's still some outdated information that's in there. A lot of it was stuff that Bruce was referring to that actually came from the Northwest.
There used to be a match director certification program and a tournament director certification program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are things that you almost can't update the information that's there because it is very out of date. I mean,
It's more a rewrite than a
right.
update.
So we did update the club manual as much as we could. We're trying to fill it in with the videos. We're trying to fill it in with the new informational videos that we're working with the folks from Federal on. I wish it was a much faster process. It's not. One of the things that you run into is we're all kind of remote. So when we're together to keep, costs down on doing stuff, it's usually shoved in on around these things, right? So most of us rolled in here last Friday to do this and then fill in the gap with doing some of those things. And then Troy's doing videos with Shooting USA. So we have other things that are planned around Two Gun and then other things that are planned in September, again, with Federal back here during Carry Optics. So that's kind of how it fits in because we don't have our own production studio. We don't have access to one unless, and I can tell you that we've priced some of that stuff out. It's cost prohibitive, unfortunately. When we priced some of that stuff out in 2017, 2018, I mean, like $100,000 to go and do a series of videos.
Well, I just want to say you guys are doing a great job. The more information you give us as like level one, matches, match directors, the better. Because sometimes trying to find the answers, you're like, the hell with it, I don't want to do it anymore.
The worst thing that we're bad about is it may have been an article last year. And so we wrote it, we put it out there, it's in the magazine. I had one about how to run, like, is your club ready for Steel Challenge? Here's how you can run a Steel Challenge match. And I modeled it off, Steve Wright's not in here. I modeled it off of the Riley Conservation Steel match and how they do it, and how they roll out a wagon and set up all 8 stages. And I put the finances that are in there. So I wrote it like 2 years ago. And when I dug it back up and updated it and ran it again, not because I needed content, but it was a good time to do it, right? So, but we're, Troy and I talk about it all the time. It's like, well, we've talked about that. It was an article like 3 years ago. Well,
It's hard to remember how long ago we did it.
how much do we turn around and regurgitate stuff when it is a reference on the website, but to your point, you got to go and look for it. So, and then we bug Rick about, hey, put this on the website. Hey, put this on the website. And then you're looking through and it ends up like the old website where you had 37 pages, 900 links, and you couldn't keep it up to date. So it's not that we're not talking about it. It's just not as easy to drop it in there. I mean, we just released the stage library that we've been talking about for 6-7 months, and there were hurdles to get that stuff.
20 years.
Yeah.
All right. Serious talk about it.
That timeline was really warped there.
Yeah. And how it all works. And then as soon as we dump it out there, we put some information out there, then we move on to the next thing, and then somebody's like, well, I don't know how to use this, or I never saw that it was released. So it was in the Downrange newsletter, went to 67,000 email addresses, but 1,100 people clicked on it. So how many times do I have to, continue to send that stuff out is the catch that we run into.
So Lenny, to your point, the local match director is the most important person in the organization. They are our primary distribution point, and we need to do a better job with that. What amazes me when I think back on this crew here is the number of people that make this sport happen. You could count on basically this hand that makes everything work. It's unbelievable when you think the product that gets put out by 5, maybe 6 full-time employees, plus Stacy and the people in the back office. And it's always, and I know we need to get past what's happening right now, what's this emergency, this is happening, to try to go over the horizon, set the priorities, make the local match director a priority, resources, easy to use, user friendly. And to Jake's point, all that information is out there if you want to go on a scavenger hunt, right? So we've got to do a better job with that. So I take your point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
I need that, hey.
Anybody want more pizza? We thought there would be a larger
Cameron's gonna
turnout,
die, so we
so
have to stop.
you're more than
Said
welcome to
Cameron's
take
gonna
some
die, so we have
with
to
you.
stop.
Thank you all.
Okay, our
I actually- no,
recording
I-
just died,
Did the
so.
recording just die?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, it didn't. So,
No, I'm just
so nobody talked about the process of the managing director. Nobody asked that question, and that was one of the things as a member,
I gotta
I
sit
think you
down.
guys should discuss that.
Remember, you just asked.
I am. It's catching me right there.
We,
Hungry.
where that's at,
Podium, please.
it's in front of me.
Yeah.
We formed a hiring committee, and the hiring committee has started a search. They first did a job description, which has been published, put out requests for applications, and also went on Indeed and some of the other hiring websites. So right now, we're in the process of gathering applications. I don't know if we have a cutoff date, but probably the first of the month.
We didn't set it.
We didn't set it, but probably the first of the month is when we'll cut that off and then start cutting those down. The hiring committee will take and pare that group down to some that will go and review in depth and then see how many candidates that we can interview and just gradually work toward that ultimate candidate. So it's in that collection of application stage right now. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay,
Just from a position.
anything else? Okay, I'm gonna call it a meeting. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Sorry it got so late.